Salute everyone. The streets are buzzing. Welcome into the post-game live. CT on the solo. EJ about to come through as we react to the season opener. The New York Knicks go down at the MSG 104-108. This was a funky, crazy game, as expected. Back and forth, adrenaline flowing. The Knicks started slow, but found their groove in the second half, but missed some critical chances, I think, to put this game away, and that was at the free throw line. The Knicks were just horrible at the free throw line, but shot incredible from deep, from three-point land, as you saw Quentin Grimes there get fouled with an opportunity to get a four-point play late. He missed one of those free throws to convert that four-point play. But Quickley Barrett stepped up big time. Immanuel Quickley took the game ball for me. The best Knick tonight. Immanuel Quickley, been in the news all week. But right now, confidence didn't waver. Immanuel Quickley helped the Knicks throughout the first half when they were struggling. Couldn't buy themselves a bucket. And stepped up big late with huge three-pointers as well. Brunson and Randle, picked it up a little bit later in the games, but they were off tonight for the most part. The Knicks just missed too many free throws. The refs got involved late. Salute to the best chat in the biz we hear for another year. I'm excited for this season. Don't get too down about tonight's result. The Knicks had an excellent chance to win this game, fam. And we're going to chop it up. EJ will come through. The chat will answer all the questions and break this thing down as the NBA season is now underway. We're here, and we have a day off, then we have a back-to-back. Got to bounce back against Atlanta and New Orleans on the road. But for the most part, look, the Knicks shot well from three. That was pleasing. But in the first half, the Knicks couldn't buy a bucket from two. They were a bit hesitant. Too many pump fakes. And from mid-range, they tried to drive into the trees and just missed that extra pass, the skip pass, to get out to the three-point shooters. Quentin Grimes only basically had 7 minutes, I think, in the first halfway through the second quarter. Only had one touch, no attempts. But what happened when Quentin Grimes got the ball? In the first half, he stepped up and started to hit some shots. And that's when I felt like the offense, got a little bit more loose. I think guys felt a little bit more comfortable, fam. But yeah, disappointing loss, Hulu. Appreciate you in the chat. Daniel, Canal, Nick Streets, CT on the solo. Smashing that like button because the streets will be buzzing this year. The New York Knicks roster's finalized. As we know, we didn't see Deuce McBride. We didn't see Evan Fournier. It was a 9-man rotation. We didn't see Jericho Sims either. But I think defensively, the Knicks were good tonight, and they led in most of the stat categories. A lot of people were kind of saying they were kind of lucky to only be down 5, fam. So the Knicks out-rebounded the Celtics 64-53, 24-18 in the assist category, 9 steals, 3 more steals. But Kristaps Porzingis put his stamp on this game tonight, ladies and gentlemen, with 11 blocks for the Boston Celtics. He had 4 of them. Ladies and gents, the New York Knicks had no blocks as a team. Right, I need to double check that because I'm having a hard time believing that right now, and I just watched that game. But those are the opportunities that you miss. I thought Mitch committed to block a lot of shots, but just couldn't get there. 9 turnovers, I'll take that all day, every day. In a season opener, it was chippy, it was physical. I thought the refs got a little too cute later in the game. But hey, ladies and gents, 9 turnovers for an entire game, I'll take that. We forced the Boston Celtics into 13 turnovers. But as I said, man, the main story tonight was 37% from the field for the New York Knicks to the Celtics 48%. Just couldn't hit as much shots as them. Credit to Jason Tatum early. Credit to Kristaps Porzingis late. I thought Jalen Brown kind of lost his cool. tonight. Salute Manchild, Michael Drake, salute. I thought, the Knicks did a good job staying composed, staying cool. We just missed way too many free throws, and we're about to go through it in the box score. But the pleasing thing is, you wouldn't expect of this, but the New York Knicks shot 43% from deep, right? Some guys stepped up big time, and that's what we needed for this team. Emmanuel Quickley, and of course Quentin Grimes got going late. RJ Barrett missed a critical three-pointer in the corner under a minute and a half remaining. That would have got us back in the game, but then it was the foul game. It was free throws, get to the line and try to force it. Julius Randle again missed some free throws late. But yeah, the New York Knicks shooting 53.8% from the free throw line, ladies and gents. That's where we lost this game. So we didn't lose this game for talent. We didn't lose this game for a lack of hustle. It was a funky offense early in the game. And it was, 53% from the free throw line, man. We got some Celtics fans in the house. I picked the Celtics actually as my number one seed. So I'm feeling good as a New York Knicks fan, New York Knicks Nation. Opening night, you can't read a lot into it. Teams are a little rusty. Teams have got new pieces. They're trying to figure some things out. But yeah, Kristaps Porzingis, a player of the game, 4 blocks. What do you have? Points, we'll go through it. Jason Tatum, though, 34 points. So he also had an amazing game. But RJ Barrett really stepped up big in a game where Brunson and Randle didn't. Offensively early, RJ Barrett finished with 24 points. Man, so I'm really pleased for RJ. But yeah, this was one of the biggest plays of the game. A critical wrong call, in my opinion, was giving Jalen Brunson a flop. We saw the flop game get crazy. There's been some flops called in some other games tonight too. So the refs are on it, ladies and gentlemen. But the one on Brunson was wrong. Brunson got tunneled. They came under him. Brunson actually landed on JT's foot. And that wasn't a flop, He was just trying to, make sure the refs knew that he, got cut under. And but they called it a tunnel. They called it a flop. And that was crazy. In my opinion. But yeah, Josh Hart also had a really good game tonight, keeping the Knicks in it, hustling. DiVincenzo was quiet offensively, but Hart hitting this key 3 ball to keep the New York Knicks, basically to give us the lead. Believe it or not, the New York Knicks just seemed like they were coming from behind all night. And then when Grimes had that chance at the 4-point play, there was a chance to go up 7. He missed the free throw, and it was only a 6-point lead with about 5-6 minutes remaining, and it was enough time for the Celtics to re-engage and get their composure back. They don't win this game without Kristaps Porzingis. He was the man. He was the one taking all the shots. But yeah, quiet night for DiVincenzo, but stepped up. Josh Hart, he gets an A for effort. Emmanuel Quickley gets an A tonight. RJ Barrett gets an A also. Those guys really stepped up big. Look, Mitch was hustling and doing his thing, so that was important. We needed that. Mitchell Robinson's a pillar of this team, helping us with the rebounds. And look at that, 64 to 53. Rebounded really well. 24 assists. I've got to shout out the New York Knicks ball movement, because tonight, for the second half, the ball was moving quite well. The first half, they were missing, I think, the extra pass a little bit. But for the most part, I don't think the Knicks were too isolation heavy. And I think they were just a bit hesitant and a bit rusty, early in the game. So, yeah, we see some reactions, no doubt. We feel the passion, we feel the energy, guys, Knicks Nation. We feel your passion and we feel your energy. And EJ's about to hop in any minute, and I'll bring him in a second. EJ been on his grind, but yeah, tonight we all on our grind, because season opener against the Boston Celtics, national TV. We had Doris Burke, Doc Rivers, and of course Mike Breen on the call. MSG with the post game and the pre-game. But we face Atlanta in a day's time, and then we'll face New Orleans back to back on the road, ladies and gentlemen. So uh, we'll have a quick look at the box score, and then we'll get EJ in and get his thoughts on tonight. So there you see, wire to wire, the Knicks started out slow, 18 points to 30. Amazing second quarter, battle back, 28 to 21. And then 27 to 31 in the third. It was back and forth. It was a seesaw. So much momentum shifting. Right, the New York Knicks found themselves on a 10-0 run after some Grimes 3 balls. The Celtics then rallied. The Knicks offense stalled. They were a little too hesitant shooting. Again, too many pump fakes. That's when Isaiah Hartenstein got into it, mixed it up with Jalen Brown. A hard foul. Brown didn't like it. Pulled Hartenstein back towards him. The refs called a double tech on that. And that's when, the Emmanuel Quickley show came to play. He got after it, and IQ was aggressive, but we still found ourselves down 9 after 3. Classic fourth quarter comeback for the New York Knicks. So we welcome in our fam EJ into the building. EJ, how you feeling, brother?
Doing all right. You hear me okay?
Yep, can hear you well,
Yep.
fam.
Yep.
Uh,
Sound good?
yep,
All
crystal
right, great.
clear.
All right.
Yep. Now,
What's
what's happening, fam? Another year we here.
a wise man says that every NBA season has a story unto itself, right? I'm paraphrasing it incorrectly, but this was a
Yep,
very interesting game. Yeah, man. How are you?
no doubt, man. I'm well, man. I'm well. I know you didn't catch much of the first half, but really the second half was the game tonight. The Knicks got a chance. They got ahead. Missed those free throws. I thought the ref missed a couple calls. Uh, what are your initial reactions?
Yeah, I had a chance. I went old school tonight. Obviously running around New York City. Had some things to take care of, so I went old school and went radio, play by play via radio. So spent some time watching the game online and then doing the radio, and then finally getting a chance to get home and seeing the rest of the game. And this is a fascinating game. And one of the things I truly believe about the modern NBA is that we really don't get to see the fullness of a team until we get past the first 15, 20 games. So this was a very fascinating game. We saw some low lights, particularly in the first quarter. We saw some stalled offense. We saw some inefficiency in particularly the first quarter. But then we saw what the Knicks have been doing pretty well the last 2 or 3 seasons, is that they inspire enough confidence, they inspire enough hope in the Knicks fan base, thinking that they can possibly pull it off. You know, I don't often believe in moral victories, but we all know what it is. We all know that the Celtics are supposed to be a squad, one of the 2 squads in the Eastern Conference that are head and shoulders above the rest of the conference. They, along with the Milwaukee Bucks. The fact that the Knicks were able to do what they did the second half, again, I don't really believe in moral victories, but this is one of those things that, as a team, as a squad, as an organization, you're not happy that you didn't win the game, and that this game was actually within your grasp. But there are some positives we can pull from this game, particularly because it was the first of 82. So those are my overall thoughts.
Yep.
What about you?
Yeah, man, I love your thoughts, and I appreciate the chat, given their energy, their passion. Some great questions coming through, and I appreciate you all for supporting and rocking out with us. The streets are buzzing. Great question from Buzzer Beater.
Mhm.
Initially, so I'm going to go through it. KP got a tech for flopping, I believe, they class it as a technical foul for flopping, and then I think he got the tech for the elbow on Hartenstein's grill. So I'm going to assume that the flopping tech may not have counted as a regular tech, which would have warranted an ejection. Do you have any official word on that?
No, no official word on it. When we did our preview show, I forgot to mention that the flopping rules are really important this year. So it's something to pay attention to. I think that there might be some adjustment in terms of figuring out like what exactly are the consequences for flopping. That is perhaps, I really should have thought about that in our preview show. That may actually be one of the biggest changes that we have for this upcoming season is, if you think about how many players, in terms of their playing defense, they're just known for flopping. They're known for drawing fouls. It'll be interesting to see like what amount or what results in the new ways in which refs are officiating the game. So I also think that this might also be first 10 games, we might see some inconsistencies.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. And I'll talk about that just more in a second. But firstly, guys, we're definitely going to talk about Emmanuel Quickley and his future tonight. I want to get that out there. I got some thoughts. Obviously, we had the deadline pass, and Emmanuel Quickley was not extended. And man, did he come out! Not that that was necessarily fuel, but Emmanuel Quickley came out like a player coming into his fourth year tonight. He looked like, man, I can just get my bucket whenever I need, and I can take over. And yeah, a really huge piece to this team, right? The bench. We talk about it, about how much this team needs a spark off the bench. I thought Josh Hart gave us that. Emmanuel Quickley. Now, DiVincenzo might have some people jump on him for a minute. He started off a little slow, quite an average preseason, and I was quiet tonight. Missed a huge critical three as well. That would have raised the roof off Madison Square Garden. And it felt like there was a couple of them tonight, a couple of back threes that would have broken maybe the Celtics back. They just unfortunately didn't go down. There was one from DiVincenzo, there was one from Grimes, one from Barrett, and I think Jalen Brunson may have had one as well. But tonight, really the free throws, EJ, 58% from the line. Is that where you see the Knicks losing this one? Because
Oh,
there's going to be a
absolutely.
lot of close games this year.
Yeah. Sorry for interrupting. I mean,
No,
you
you're
know,
good.
basketball games come down to a series of different factors. And this game in particular, especially when you look at the first quarter and the point differential in terms of the first quarter, I think the first quarter was 30-18. And for the Knicks to be able to close the gap and win the second quarter, and I believe they won the third quarter as well. I might be wrong about that. Um, the fact that they missed, I believe, 11 free throws or something along the lines of 11 free throw, they ended up shooting at 58%. And the Celtics, for the most part, I think they only missed four free throws the entire game. You can boil it down to that, like the execution on the free throw line. What is a bit disconcerting, and this is why I said, like, I don't really believe in moral victories, but there are, to an extent, you have to kind of consider where the Knicks have been. One of the considerations is that for a few years we've had several players struggle at the free throw line. So if I were to take a look at this first game, and I don't want to jump off the ledge, I don't want to engage in hyperbole, but to a certain extent, the free throw shooting does give cause for concern. You're at Madison Square Garden. You have a home crowd. You have a home crowd that's energized. They want to make a lot of noise. There are some high expectations for this roster and this team. And so you have a home crowd that kind of has gotten used to the Knicks having moderate success. So not being able to execute, not able to get like the free points, for example, Jalen Brunson missing that tech, um, uh, Julius Randle getting one out of two free throws in the fourth quarter. Those traits, those are those habits that they will really separate you in terms of the upper echelon of that second tier of Eastern Conference squad. So I do think that if we want to boil it down to a single factor, though there were many, free throws definitely come to play.
Yeah, man, it's a game of fine margins. But enjoying some more positives from tonight. The some of the your unsung heroes for the New York Knicks, Grimes, Quickley, and Barrett. People always say, it's good to have a good Brunson and Randle game, but for the Knicks to win anything this year, we can't just rely on those two. And what's more pleasing is, although those guys had a down night, it was some of these other guys that really pulled us in the game and kept us in the game. So without them, it would have been embarrassing. So yeah, hopefully we see a huge leap from these young Knicks, EJ, with Grimes. What did you see from him tonight? And then we'll go up from the list and then to Barrett and then quickly.
Grimes is one of those players that when I think of what he can be, um, he's tantalizing. because he
Mm.
shows this possibility of growth. And the thing that we have to be concerned with is how many shots is he going to get? We
Yeah.
have Brunson and we have Randle, and the concern is, they're going to take the lion's share of your shots. Emmanuel Quickly, it's pretty obvious tonight, kind of proves it that Tom Thibodeau loves him some Emmanuel Quickly, and so Emmanuel Quickly will get a number of shots. R.J. Barrett, where he is in his career, the Knicks hoping that he takes that quantum leap in this particular season, he's going to get his shots. So that unfortunately leaves Quentin Grimes in this kind of weird position where we need him to be kind of like a throwback to the bad boy Pistons, a Vinnie Johnson, a microwave, where he doesn't get a lot of shots, but he's able to really electrify and really be incredibly efficient, even though he will not get a lot of shots. And so one of the things that we saw tonight is this tantalizing aspect to Quentin Grimes' game. And the great thing is that we're only into season 3, so hopefully there is a quantum leap that takes place this particular season.
Yeah, and we talked about quickly, just briefly, but tonight, man, his confidence to be able to shoot off the dribble is like that's a skill that can separate you in this league. We've seen Jason Tatum's of the world, Trey Young's, Bradley Beal's, Devin Booker's, Raymond Brothers, the agent of Emmanuel Quickly. Is very high on him, believes he can be an all-star, and if you can shoot off the dribble like that regularly, then I can see it happening. I don't think it's far-fetched at all. And this whole extension thing, we'll get into that now, may as well. Not that I don't think the Knicks feel like Quickly can't reach that. I think it just came down to business. I think the New York Knicks, EJ, will be looking heavily at upgrading their starting five. And they want to see another year and see what IQ can do. They can always match, as a restricted free agent, that favours the New York Knicks. So with that said, I feel like the number was high. And right now they're probably more focused on seeing what everyone looks like this year. And then if it looks great, double down on it. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I really do think that the Emmanuel Quickly situation, the Emmanuel Quickly extension, at least for me, my perspective is that it showed me a lot more. It showed me less about Emmanuel Quickly. It showed me a lot more with regards to the front office. I think I can say definitively that we have a front office that is judicious, that is patient, but I also think this is a front office that is showing itself to be a little hesitant to make any mistakes whatsoever, particularly on the heels of what happened with regards to Obi Toppin and his tenure in New York City. This is a front office that it seems to be very, very careful about, we don't want to make mistakes. We don't want the fan base to turn on us. I think Leon Rose has kind of understood that he's in a somewhat precarious position, although he's had some success, particularly last year and the 2019-2020 season. Um, I think one of the reasons why Emmanuel Quickly did not get his extension, it might be the number, because they might be predicting that they'll be in the pursuit of a game-changing player. But I also think it's the front office that sometimes appears to be afraid to set the market with its own players. We saw throughout the course of the past week, players like a Devin Vassell, teams deciding, okay, I'm going to resign my players and I'm going to set the market. I don't know if this front office has that sort of desire to do that with its own players. So I think that's why we saw Obi Toppin traded. I think that's why we've seen several other players traded or moved on. And I think this is also why we're seeing this kind of manner in which they're handling the Emmanuel Quickly contract.
Yeah, that's a good point you make. I don't think I've really heard people mention that recently about the front office being hesitant kind of as well, looking like they want to make sure that it's a friendly number so people don't overreact or etc. But I think last year Emmanuel Quickly's play definitely deserved a very good number. I still haven't heard any confirmed numbers revealed yet, but one can speculate there are in the north of 25 per. I'm gonna speculate. 22, maybe 25 per, the Knicks might have felt uncomfortable, doing it right now. It's not saying that they're not gonna do it, or they don't want to extend Quickly and they don't want to keep him. Again, as fans and guys that love the players and the team, and ladies that we love the team and everything, it comes down to we lose sight of the business side of things sometimes as well. You know, the
Yeah.
players play the game because they love it, but they want to get paid. They do it because they get paid well, and dollars got to make sense. With that said, though, the role of Emmanuel Quickly on the team could have been a sticking point also. Um, Talking about a situation where the Knicks have decisions to make. Grimes has to be paid in a year's time, can be eligible. Deuce McBride, is an actual unrestricted free agent after this year, EJ, and they have to consider what commitment they would like to make with Deuce. We've got a nice growing young player overseas, Rokas Jokubaitis, who was impressive in FIBA, is shooting the three ball amazing, and the Knicks can offer him a 4-year rookie deal and get that talent injection in and reset that, as well as you consider the starting unit. What if a Donovan Mitchell, wink wink kind of deal is in play, so all of these things will be revealed. But I think there's way too many factors to tell us that the Knicks will be aggressive in trying to shake up this roster. But that's not to say that they don't want to keep Quickly. It just might mean that, they might have to explore some trades.
I don't think it's a might. I think there will. CT and I had been doing this. We've been on the Knicks Buzz journey together for now a little bit more than a season and a half. And this is a conversation that we actually had when I first started joining the podcast, when I first started joining the show. We talked about that there would be a point where they would have to start consolidating contracts. And we said they were going to have to make a decision with regards to Obi
Yeah,
Toppin.
facts.
We said that with regards to Emmanuel Quickly. And it seems like it was a long time ago, but we're here now. We're to quote Julius Randle, we here um, with regards to this consolidation of contracts, because a couple of years ago, 2 years ago, we were talking about who's going to be the next big fish, post Kevin Durant, post Kyrie Irving signing in Brooklyn. How are we going to align ourselves to be in the hunt for the next superstar? But that also meant that all of the draft picks that we were saving in case there were a trade, all of the draft picks that we had made, all of the contracts that we assigned, at some point, those contracts have to be folded. They have to be combined. They have to be, to move. You have to move on from certain players. I do think, though, our tendency to always move towards that big fish hunting, it's hard to, or it's hard to construct a roster around a player who's not necessarily on your roster. It's hard to sign contracts and contract extensions with the idea that a player might likely come to your team when they're not definitely on your team, and anything could happen. For example, how many of us were salivating, 4 months ago, thinking about Giannis potentially wearing a Knicks uniform, and as of this week, the joke's on us. You can't construct a roster
Yeah.
that way.
He was using us. I'll say that right now. I feel like, yeah, not the first player, not the last player, but not specifically the Knicks, but he was using the leverage of a big market with huge assets to force Milwaukee to do what they do. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's the fool's gold of certain teams don't. And let's call a spade a spade. Part of the pressure that the front office faces is that Knicks Buzz is one of like 743 different fan shows dedicated to analyzing the Knicks, and so that's a pressure that's not necessarily true in other markets, like the Miami Heat. And for as much of it's been a great organization in the past 20, 25 years, actually the first 30 years, if you think about it, since Pat Riley, faxed his resignation to the New York Knicks in 1995. Um, it's been an amazing organization, but some of the pressures that exist here in New York don't exist in a Miami, don't exist in a Milwaukee, don't exist in a Oklahoma City. And so I do think in some way that kind of saddles the front office with pressures that you're either going to adhere to it or you're going to say, screw it. We're just gonna go for the gold. But I do think at some point they're gonna have to make a clear decision on Emmanuel
Mm.
Quickley.
Yeah, no doubt. I feel like the future's still in his court, because if he looks better and better, like, yeah, the rules are meant to be broken, even as a backup, or the Knicks could maybe use him as a starter more, or just bring him off the bench but play him closing minutes heavily. So there's a lot of different things the Knicks can do, but it's all about the timeline for this New York Knicks team, guys. I feel like with the draft situation, that's something I want to mention too, because the Knicks have the Dallas pick again this year. If Dallas aren't the 10th worst teams again, which you never know, but it's not as likely. I feel like they can squeak into the play-in. Then we have our own pick. We have the potentially the Washington pick this year if they're not in the 12 worst teams, but most likely that's going to convey next year. But then we have two really good second round picks this year. Detroit's one, I think, and another one, which is going to be in the 30s. So that's four picks guaranteed basically this year. We don't have the roster spots for all of that, right? So there's a reason we're trying to be a little, frugal with decisions and money. And then I mentioned the Deuce McBrides. I mentioned, we've got a guy like Rokas overseas who they might feel like he's ready to come over now. So all of that said, I think things are gearing up for a consolidation move. I'm with
Oh,
you on that,
definitely.
100%.
Bro, it's happening. And here's a clue that the organization has given us that there's a consolidation move that's happening. Evan Fournier's contract.
Boom.
Evan Fournier's contract is still on the Knicks roster for cap reasons. If you stop and think about it, there's it they could have done something, some sort of maneuver. But it's with the thinking, if someone becomes available, which perhaps they've gotten some information. And I am not into conspiracy theories, but this is just a logical assumption. That particular salary hold is there just in case it could be parlayed into a consolidation move.
It's gold, basically. It's worth its weight in gold with salaries going up and the ability to clear the decks that Evan Fournier won. And it doesn't hurt, the guy can actually play minutes.
Absolutely.
Like most Albatross contracts like that are expiring are dudes that you just shove aside on the bench. Evan Fournier for a team, especially if you're a contender, can come in and give you some shooting. And I'm sure at some point we'll see him play for the New York Knicks because he can give us some shooting. But tonight, EJ, we shot the ball well from deep. It was just we were impotent in the first half, really. And that's down to a bit of nerves, rustiness, first game. To me, the pleasing thing is we had this game there to win through rebounding, steals, aggression, and we really could have stole this one. I really feel like we could if we just shot a little better and hit free throws. So with that said, I feel probably even better about my prediction of the Knicks winning 45 plus, but it's obviously going to come down to playoffs and injuries. Hopefully we stay healthy. Was there anything about the Celtics tonight that didn't impress you or surprised you at all?
A lot
And from
has
the
been
Knicks?
said. Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, a lot has been, a lot has been said with regards to Kristaps Porzingis' performance tonight. We know KP. We know KP very well. Obviously he's matured to some extent. He's gotten stronger. He had a solid season with Washington last year. This is a Celtics team that I do think it has the potential to be real. I mean, I think the KP pickup, and I see a bunch of comments I see a bunch of comments in the comment section with regards to KP and the notion of picking him up. I'm always going to say this, and I might not be popular for saying this, but the price for a player, the contract might be the same, but the price is different depending on the organization, depending on the roster, depending on the team. KP on the Knicks is a different kind of player than KP on the Celtics. When you have certain players like a Jason Tatum, who's an otherworldly talent, who within the next 5 years will
Yeah.
be a top five player.
Yeah. He's an MVP selection for a lot of
Yeah,
pundits.
Yeah, and that's this year, and that's not like in a post LeBron world. It's going to be a Jason Tatum league. The KP contract, the KP as a player, his he becomes amplified because he has a Jason Tatum on the team. We don't have a Jason Tatum. As much as I love Brunson, who's a great player, who's a great player, I'm not ashamed to admit that there is a bit of a bridge between a Jalen Brunson and a Jason Tatum. So I think that's one of the things that we have to consider is that KP looked like a great pickup tonight, but that's also because consider the game that Jason Tatum had. Consider the potential of a Jalen Brown. So and let's not forget, to me, what really made the Celtics a viable threat to win the Eastern Conference is the pickup of Drew Holiday. That to me was, I think, in the long term, that will be the move that will really separate Boston from many of the other teams in the Eastern Conference. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you, man. To me, the doubt was never KP's ability. I'm going to be more surprised if he stays healthy for 70 games. That's going to be where his impact really is reflective. Because I don't think he's that level of an all-star that he was with the Knicks in his second year. But he can be, with health, he can be real close. But if you get that for 70 games, that's a real game changer. If you get him for 55, 50, not so much. But also, how does he fit with the team? All of that. I admire RJ's aggression, going at him, but that was like watching a train wreck, watching a guy go at, not RJ specifically, but just watching a New York Knick go at a 7'3" guy that used to be on our team, you know, stuffing that stuff back at the guy. But that's how you get him in foul trouble. And the Knicks actually got the Celtics in foul trouble tonight. We didn't hit free throws, man. Is there anything that you would have liked to see do differently, better? Yes, talking about Thibs and Randle and the leaders of this team.
I mean, I think first quarter, that first quarter offensive schemes, really having the sense of creativity. Again, ball movement is really important. When you have a player, one of the things that is probably going to be something with which the Knicks suffer or struggle this entire year will be like heading against teams with length. And we saw that last year as well, too. There were certain rosters, there were certain teams that have a lot more length than the Knicks, and that ability to figure out how do you score against length, that is going to be really, really the major issue. If the Knicks can go +5 in that first quarter, they win the game. So if the score is 30-18, and instead of it being 30-18, it's 30-23, we win the game. I mean, and obviously there are ways in which you can't predict what happens the second, third, and fourth quarter if it's 20 if it's 23-30. But again, that offensive consistency is tremendously important, particularly when you're up against one of the beasts of the East. When you're going up against a team that is head and shoulders a team better than you, then yes, the margin for error is slight, it's minuscule. So that's the thing I would say is that obviously the Knicks came to play, but they came to play really starting in the second portion of the second quarter, third quarter, and fourth quarter.
Mhm. Yeah, the keys to me winning 48 games, EJ, is the home record as well. Um, we know we can perform well on the road, and that's going to get tested this year. Best believe that. But winning home games, tonight hurts. We lose a close one, but executing at home, the crowd gets amped. There's that special excitement at MSG that you don't get anywhere else. It juices the opposing players even more. We hardly see a mild-mannered Jalen Brown get chippy, and that was a fair, hard take foul. Nothing malice in it, but Jalen Brown really took exception to the Hartenstein foul. But yeah, the New York Knicks got to learn to deal with that excitement and aggression from the crowd, the anticipation, and execute. Otherwise, we're going to lose some of these close games, and there's going to be a lot of close games. For me, head on a snake, Jalen Brunson. People talked about him going to another level this year. Jalen Brunson, to me, that doesn't necessarily just mean scoring. It means reading the situations better, making your teammates better, defending better, which is a weakness of his. How did you see Brunson's first game?
Brunson's first game was interesting because while I was watching, um, the the echoes of what Mark Berman said were kind of playing in my head. And if you missed the episode where Mark Berman, our friend Mark Berman, love that guy, really love that guy. He talked about how his fear was that if the extent to which Jalen Brunson, who had a really tough first season with the Knicks in terms of, and I say tough in terms of the amount of physicality with which he plays. By the end of the season last year, you could see that he was banged, he was bruised. And so Berman's fear and concern was the extent to which playing for Team USA in FIBA basketball, did he get sufficient rest? Did he get sufficient time to heal? Especially because it's become abundantly clear that Jalen Brunson is going to have to be the anchor, the offensive anchor of this team, particularly if we're going to be ISO heavy, especially in crunch time moments. So for me, I have the utmost confidence in Jalen Brunson. But what Mark Berman did say the last time we spoke to him, that gave me a little bit of cause for concern because Brunson does play a particular way that you can see there's a
Yeah.
wear.
And don't forget, as a New Yorker, EJ, you're only as good as your last performances. The shine of last year, the magic is it's gonna wear off at some point. Knicks fans, they'll get on you because they expect more of you. We want Brunson to go to another level. And as the chat spit knowledge and their passion, we'll get to a few questions. I'll highlight a few comments. Keep throwing us any questions you got. Yeah, I think we answered Buzzer Beater's question earlier about the tech, but he's got another great question about Spider. Didn't sign an extension. Is he leaving in 2 years, or do we trade for him before then? I'd love to get your thoughts first, and then I'll piggyback.
I think that Donovan Mitchell is the perfect example of the intersection of an available player versus the ideal player. I think that Donovan Mitchell, by the end of the season, even will be available to the New York Knicks because the Cleveland Cavaliers know how much they've invested in terms of acquiring him. Danny Ainge really has a number of wanted posters throughout the United States because of how he stuck up to professional basketball organizations in terms of the ransom. The Kings, it's not even a King's ransom, it's an Emperor's ransom that he got for Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. Cleveland cannot let, or will try as much as possible to not let Donovan Mitchell go without getting any recompense or any compensation for his contract. The issue, though, Buzzer, to your question is, although Donovan Mitchell will be available, is he the ideal player that we need to really elevate where the Knicks could be going? Obviously, Donovan Mitchell isn't a supernatural scoring threat, but the questions will remain. If you pair Donovan Mitchell with Jalen Brunson, what happens to their backcourt in terms of size? What happens to your backcourt in terms of defense? What happens in terms of Quentin Grimes? I mean, if you have Donovan Mitchell and Jalen Brunson, what does that mean for Quentin Grimes? What does that mean for IQ? It brings about a lot of questions. And so I do think that Donovan Mitchell is the top tier player that will be the most available. I don't know, though, if he's the ideal player. And there is a difference between the two. CT, what do you think?
Yeah, 100% agree. It's a huge talent upgrade, and I think the Knicks are zeroing in. Definitely a buzzer is warm on that, man. The he re- you know he So Cleveland. Let me get this straight. Cleveland are in New York playing Brooklyn for their first season opener. So this isn't specifically a big deal, but he's in New York City and he did an Adidas store appearance last night to launch his new sneaker, the Don. I think the Don Fives. They look fire. But one thing that caught my eye is color custom of the sneaker is orange and blue. I'm like, I know he's a Mets fan and all that, but it just feels like he's trolling. every which way possible. And it's like, yeah, man, at some point, the Knicks like to do their background. We got the Brunson deal early. We got that done, got that over the line. And I think after 1 year, I think Cleveland is going to have to make that decision no matter what, even about eliminating the Knicks. They've got to decide because Spider can walk, you know, and you want to trade a player 1 year before their walk year so that you can get something back. If you wait beyond this season, beyond next summer into the following season, then Cleveland are screwed. So I think Cleveland are going to end up trading him, and they'll probably try to trade him to the best offer. It might be a situation where the Knicks have to pay that extra tax again because he's ticked Cleveland off.
I do think, and I also think to Buzzer's question, um, Spider is also like, let's say if inevitably Spider does end up on the Knicks, the fit question is also relative to who else is going to be on the roster. I don't think that it'll be a roster of Jalen Brunson, Spider Mitchell, R.J. Barrett, Julius Randle, and Mitch Robinson. I don't think if you have Donovan Mitchell coming to the Knicks, it's going to be those four other guys. I do believe that it'll be at least one or two pieces that will be moved either in a Spider Mitchell deal or a deal to better suit talent next to a Jalen Brunson and next to a Spider Mitchell. Because I think that Jalen Brunson at this point is the only untouchable on this roster at this point. And if you are determined to get a Spider Mitchell, and guys, please listen carefully. I'm not saying that I am advocating for it. I'm not saying that this is what I want. I'm saying hypothetically, if this were to happen, then that also means there's probably going to be there has to be another change on your particular squad. So, for example, do you get a more defensively inclined wing because you know that your one and your two are more likely to give up more points than they score, possibly?
Yeah, man. I think it's about getting that star in, but making sure that we have enough around them. We know what happened with Melo, with Stat, and we got some talent. That's why we're kind of fleshing out our bench, with the Harts, the DiVincenzos. Hopefully we keep Deuce. I'm big on him. I mentioned we got that Roca situation overseas. Uh, he's a promising player to come. So yeah, the New York Knicks' future is bright, but we got to make the right decisions. And I feel like if the front office is more patient, I don't mind that because this year is going to tell us a lot. And so far, for example, RJ Barrett looks like he's carrying playoff consistency to FIBA and now having a solid preseason and then a solid opening game. So, connect the dots. So, what do you think about RJ Barrett, his performance so far and what we're seeing?
I think the thing with RJ has always been, to some extent, some of the non-physical aspects of basketball. That has been my critique of RJ. Like, during the 2022-23 season, a lot of my critiques of RJ were, for example, basketball IQ. And I made the comparison with regards to Jason Kidd. Jason Kidd was always able to overcome his physical limitations. He wasn't a great jumper. He wasn't like, he's never going to really slam the basketball on you. But Jason Kidd was an amazingly intelligent basketball player. The same thing that we've seen with, for example, trying to think of another player that typifies this. Melo to a certain extent, Melo to a certain extent, this is not the best example. Melo's ability to transform his game from young Melo to, the year where he's out of the league to understanding, okay, I have to transform my game to have a role in this new modern NBA. That's a form of basketball intelligence. My aspiration for RJ this year is that he continues to show an evolution of his approach to basketball. That if he's going to attack, for example, attack the rim, maybe he has a little bit more dexterity and is not just finishing with his left, he's finishing with his right. And it doesn't have to be, 50% of the time, but if you have it at 10% of the time, 15% of the time, it throws defenses off. They can't predict, with 100% certitude that you're going to finish left. So I appreciate the fact that he's a little bit more consistent. The other two things are efficiency, making sure that efficiency is still happening there, and as well as free throws, free throws, free throws.
Rose. Yep, no doubt, man. You're spitting knowledge on that. I think the shooting, the free throws, and yeah, the definitely at the top is decision making, processing. Um, yeah, learning that, coming up the ranks, he could bully anybody. He was physically stronger than everyone, but coming into the league, you got to learn that, you're going up against other bullies as well. The NBA's full of them. The NBA's full of bullies, and it's like sometimes Randle tries to bully another bully, and then it's like two bulls collide, and everyone just comes off worse off. But I like some things in Barrett's processing. It looks like he's processing the game a little bit better and making that right read. I mentioned ball movement tonight, EJ. Did you find that, Randle did miss a couple swing passes, and there just were a few times when players were caught in two minds, whether to get the bucket or kick the ball out. This team has to develop trust in each other, I think.
I think the trust component is definitely going to be part of it. Like the first 15 games, I do think that there's a level to which, it's all about, learning your teammate, understanding your teammate, knowing where they like preferences in terms of where they want the ball. Just, the camaraderie. And that's an advantage the Knicks will have, is that building that it will be a shorter process, because this is a team that, for the most part, with a few exceptions, is a consistent roster from last season.
Yeah, no doubt, man. And I know you got to get on your grind, EJ, but yeah, thanks for coming through, man. Appreciate you as always. Let's go Knicks, and we'll see you soon.
Hey, everyone, please don't forget to smash the like button. It truly helps us with the algorithm. Please support us. We love doing this. We've been doing this for a while. This is great Knicks content, so please share it, like, subscribe, and CT. I'll hit you up later on.
Yeah, peace, EJ. Let's get it soon.
Bye.
Salute to EJ. The chat will continue buzzing after the season opener and New York Knicks go down. But yeah, still some thoughts we got to get off our chest and answer a few more questions from the chat and shout everyone out. But yeah, honestly, it was more doom and gloom in the first half. I was more thinking like, we can't lose this game and get blown out. But in typical New York Knicks fashion, we fought back. We battled. Won the rebounding, assists, won the turnovers even as well. But it just always seems to come down to shooting with this team. We either stumble with these opening, those late threes, or free throw shooting, ladies and gents. So yeah, it was tough. We definitely do need to be better than that and clean that up. Right, so let's continue giving out some grades and go through and shout some more players out. I thought Isaiah Hartenstein was solid in his 25 minutes, so he played quite a bit. The chat mentioned Al Horford tonight. In typical fashion, Al Horford knows when to sink, those threes when it hurts. You kind of leave a little bit of daylight, and he knows where the bucket is, so that was tough. Of course, when Porzingis started raining threes, Hartenstein tried to D up and then got called for that ticky-tack foul. It was there technically, but that's what KP's going to do in terms of the factor of drawing gravity. We know he can stretch it. If the Knicks were to entertain a Karl Anthony Towns move, that's the reason we would. It's because of a big that can pull the other big out. And that's something that the Boston Celtics have twofold with, of course, KP and Al Horford as well. So that's what's going to make them dangerous, I feel. Maybe even a little bit more shooting than Milwaukee have. Giannis not the best three-point shooter, but with the New York Knicks, right, after a bum first half, we battled, scored 27 points and then 31. So if we get a few more stops, we hit a few more free throws, we'll be able to pull this one out. But 53% from the line was definitely the biggest factor for me, fam. You're on point with that. You would think after a bum year of all these missed free throws that the New York Knicks, would hope to the hope of all fans, we'd come back and and sink our free throws this year. Let's hope that this is just an aberration tonight. We need to be better at that. Who were the ones that missed the most? So we had Julius Randle go 1 of 5. Mitch was 0 of 2. Brunson missed his Grimes his lone foul shot. Quickley went 5 of 6. He was fairly solid. Even Hartenstein missed one as well. So, yeah, that was costly. Even if Randle got one of those late, it's a one-possession game. I think the fact that he missed it, it remained at a two-possession game, and that was tough. Julius Randle with the minus 13 tonight. Got his 11 rebounds. 7 assists was good. But, yeah, Jalen Brunson, 6 assists also. But, yeah, I just found that they were just in two minds, whether to move the ball or to shoot. You know, when they're not shooting well, it's time to get Quentin Grimes some more shots. And with that said, shout out to Eddie. A great comment about ball movement. Plus Grimes needs a consistent 10 to 14 shots per game. Yeah, consistent is the key. Keeping the rhythm going. And, he's our best three-point shooter in the starting lineup. Why did he only shoot one attempt in the first half, I believe, or first rotation that he was in the game? He only got one attempt, I think, or he touched the ball once, in fact. He was no attempts as well. So, yeah, great point. Parrish is in the house, salute. Indiana scored 143. If they did, that's insane. I picked Indiana to actually win tonight. I'm predicting them to have a solid year. And on that note, let's pull up my East predictions, my East standings. I got Milwaukee top, Boston 2. Still not convinced by Boston. Like tonight showed me that decision making is suspect. I think Drew Holiday is good defensively. He can lose the plot a little bit offensively late. I think Jalen Brown, not quite the clutch player yet. I think Milwaukee is still the best team to beat. Then I'm predicting either Philly keep James Harden or they get something decent back. So that can easily change. That's in flux. So Philly in 3. I've just kind of given them the respect. The fact that they've got the MVP and the fact that they've got Tyrese Maxey and some good depth. But coming in at number 4, I think the New York Knicks will grit out 47-48 wins once again and will find themselves with home court advantage. I think late in the season they'll either pull off a trade or they'll go all in these later games to get the 4th seed and a home court. Cleveland at 5, Miami, I think Orlando, and like I said, Indiana are on the come up. Those guys are building a roster full of deep, young talent as well. So yeah, that's my East and West, ladies and gentlemen. Still trying to be optimistic with the Knicks' chances of getting home court, but it's definitely going to be interesting this year and how we start. Hopefully we can be above 500 early, and then that's going to set the tone. But yeah, free throw shooting, executing late, Michael, is going to be key. Definitely. And like King says as well, RJ was the only one that was on point from the line. Yeah, RJ Barrett looks like he's more composed as well now. After FIBA, a great preseason, good start to the year for RJ Barrett. So that's great for our chances. And really, he is, in our top 3 best players, still in my opinion. A lot of people are, very high on Emmanuel Quickley, and so am I. It's kind of a toss of a coin, but I think in terms of a guy who's capable of getting to the line easier, capable of bullying his opponent, and capable of making the most impact, I think RJ Barrett is still in the top 3 players, but he's just inconsistent. So is Emmanuel Quickley at times as well. So, yeah, diving in a little bit more into the Emmanuel Quickley conversation, right? So, Emmanuel Quickley, like I said to EJ, is such a huge piece to this front office and this team. They know that, but they're thinking more business, right? They're not getting, not bringing the timeline forward unless they have to. So with that said, they elected not to give the amount of money that his agent Raymond Brothers was hoping to get. Now Emmanuel Quickley is definitely deserving of securing a nice bag. With his play tonight, only showed just how much he can impact this team. Right, we don't have a guy that can really pull up off the dribble outside of Brunson and Randle. With that skill set, that's huge. So we're going to need that a lot more. But there's underlying reasons why also the New York Knicks got to think about other things, such as the starting five. What do they want to do with the rest of the team? And trying to get closer to winning a championship. I think the starting five's solid. It can win us 45 plus games, 50 games in some opinions. But is it able to win the New York Knicks a championship? I think that's what the front office is looking at, trying to upgrade the starting five first. And we saw that leak with Pompey from the Philadelphia Inquirer, Keith Pompey, about I don't really feel like that was reflective. I think that was loose discussions. What gets lost in trade conversations is that people are willing to report anything, like which player was talked and which player wasn't. That doesn't mean that the New York Knicks were willing to give up all of that. So I think that was kind of taken out of context a little bit. But what I took from it is that the New York Knicks will be aggressive now. Leon Rose coming into his fourth year into this regime. There's a situation now where the critique from James Dolan or the organization from fans is going to start to come if the Knicks don't improve this year. And I mentioned the timeline. We have 4 draft picks this year. The Knicks are going to have to decide what to do, and we don't have the roster spots. What can we do? Can we push these picks down the line in the future, or we pull off a huge trade at the deadline or in the summer before the draft? We see who becomes available. Another year of Chicago being bad, they might be willing to do a deal with Levine. Another year of Cleveland not improving, they might be more amenable to trading Spider. Karl Anthony Towns is another name. The Clippers, Minnesota, the Pelicans. There's so much pressure under all these teams, and if we wait another year, we'll be able to see which of these teams are willing to trade now some of their bigger pieces. So I think the Knicks have played this fine. For me, there's still the opportunity to extend quickly when the season is finished, and we get another look at him in the playoffs another year. We can match any deal we want, right? We can shuffle the decks and clear a bigger role for him, if he shows out like he did tonight. And also, I mentioned to EJ, we could play Quickley next to Brunson a lot more. Tonight, they closed the game out. So that was an interesting thing to look at, fam. So Michael's saying, I heard the deal was 4 years, 85 was the number. I haven't heard anything yet, fam, but is that the number the Knicks were willing to go, or the number Quickley was hoping to get? Either way, I feel like the Knicks have just kind of been safe and pushed this further down the line so that they can make a clearer decision, on how much to commit to IQ. And I'm not just talking money. I'm talking committing a role, because he said it himself, fam. It came out of his mouth. He said, I want to be a starter. I want to be a starter in the NBA, and I hope it's in New York. So, the New York Knicks got to do some thinking. They got to just figure some things out this year about where does IQ fit, in terms of long term, right? The man doesn't want to be a 6th man of the year forever. He said it himself. So, fans that are upset that the Knicks didn't just give him the money, and then sweep everything under the carpet. That's not how it works, The Knicks are trying to think long term now. Deuce McBride, a great young player coming up, didn't get any minutes tonight. We'll see. but I think Deuce is going to factor in big this year. He's just an incredible on-ball defender that looks like the shot is starting to come around. That's scary. He could be one of the Knicks' great two-way players coming up. Deuce McBride as well. He might supplant minutes from Dante DiVincenzo. Who knows? DiVincenzo might be a trade candidate if he doesn't start playing well. So the Knicks have got options and they've got talent to decide. Rokas looking overseas now. He's balling out for his club overseas now. The Knicks can offer him a 4-year rookie deal at a pretty cheap number and bring him into the States and be the backup point guard as well. He's offensive minded. He can stroke it. He shoots 40% from 3 as well. He's an excellent pick and roll guard. And then the Knicks have 4 draft picks as well. So, we're getting a lot of young talent. How do we fit it all in? And then do we bundle everything up and we just go all in for a couple of dudes that become available, like a Donovan Mitchell and a Zach LaVine? I think those two and then Karl Anthony Towns are the more attainable ones, but I think the New York Knicks are definitely shooting higher than that. So don't worry if you're not a fan of those guys. I think the Knicks are still trying to aim higher. And what I mean by that is obviously Joel Embiid. Now, that's not as likely. It's going to be a difficult situation, but I've been around long enough to know that things change in the NBA quickly, man. No pun intended. Now, I'm talking about, Philadelphia imploding and Joel Embiid getting fed up with that situation right now. We're hearing back channels now that Joel Embiid's disillusioned. So, not a great way to start, a key season for him and Philly, right? This was a season where Joel Embiid's like, I'm ready to compete for a championship now. You're not going to waste a year of my time now with all these shenanigans. I'm ready to compete right now. I'm 29 and my knees aren't, getting any younger. They're rickety as they are. So, with that said, I think things can implode with Philly real quick. That's why we're starting to see these leaks from Keith Pompey, and we will start to see the Knicks front office be more aggressive. The timeline's coming up now. It's shorter than 12 months, I think, before the Knicks do need to make a major move. I'm talking major move as well, because of the spots, the salaries, and the draft picks. All of that. But what helps this whole situation, guys, is the fact that we're good, we're consistent, and we start winning games regularly. We keep ourselves in the top 4 of the East. We already have a lot of national guys now start to give us some props. Tim Bontemps, Brian Windhorst believes we can pull off 2 blockbuster trades. Zach Lowe, some of these ESPN guys, Bobby Marks, the list goes on now. The New York Knicks are 7th in NBA.com's power rankings in the entire league. NBA.com got the New York Knicks at 7th. So that's a lot of people that believe the Knicks can win a lot of games, and be ready. Who do you guys want to get? Let me know. Right? Who do you think would complement this team well? Now, I hope it's someone who can shoot free throws, because that's a great start. But yeah, I like a player that can shoot off the dribble. That's a big skill set for me. Your Dame Lillards, your Steph Currys, Devin Bookers. That's key. Now, the fact that Emmanuel Quickley is still only 23 or 24, I think he's about to turn 25 soon. But man, that skill set is going to get him paid. If I'm Emmanuel Quickley, I would not be worried about getting that bag, because what he's shown us so far and tonight, the man's can shoot and can change the game real quick, pun intended. Now, his agent is confident, that there's a reason for that, and I think some team's definitely going to give him an offer. He's going to get paid the bag. It's going to be the Knicks have to match, or the Knicks are already going to be looking at sign and trades. So one way or the other, Emmanuel Quickley is going to get his bag, unless he, falls off a cliff and stinks it up in the playoffs. I think he's definitely going to get that bag, man. Yeah, like Michael said, that's above all else. That's at the very top too. What Emmanuel Quickley wants. It's not necessarily the money. It's what he wants. The role. He wants to be a starter in this league, man. Ain't no one with that skill set wants to just come off the bench forever, and be a six man. Those guys are confident and they're aiming higher than that. Yeah. To Die For says, leave Mitch alone. Yet we can get him for free versus trading assets. Yet what we need to do is fill out and balance our roster out for his arrival, for free agency. Yep. That's the number one way I love getting players like Brunson, just for free cap space, clear it out. My only concern is we're going to have to wait 2 years for that, if that's the case, surely Cleveland's going to trade him in 1 year's time if he's not committing and the team's not looking great. It's different with Kawhi Leonard and the Raptors. That was a championship contending team, so they said, "Look, to hell with it. We're just going to keep you for a year, and we're going to try to go all in and win a chip," and it worked. But I don't see Cleveland able to do that unless they're in the top 2, top 3 teams. They're a good team, but they're not a contender. They're just not. And keeping Donovan Mitchell beyond after this year would be stubbornness, I feel. Just cash it in and get more assets back. That'll be interesting to see. One of the biggest storylines all year is the Donovan Mitchell thing. I don't think it's going away. It's not going away at all. So I hope we can extend the rotation a little bit. I think Thibs might. Tonight we saw a 9-man, and I feel like guys are going to get tired. They're going to get banged up. Hustling the way they hustle, especially if we're not getting offense from DiVincenzo. Maybe he looks to Evan Fournier for a minute. Maybe Deuce McBride if our defense stinks it up on the road. But Jericho Sims, is another one who got backup minutes. We'll have to wait and see. I think he likes the small ball look first. At least a little bit more floor spacing. And tonight it worked. Josh Hart hit a couple of big threes late. That if Jericho Sims is out there, we don't get that floor spacing. So I think for the most part, rotation-wise, Thibs pushed the right buttons tonight. He closed the game with Barrett. Was playing well. I think maybe he left Barrett on the bench a little too long. If I'm keeping it a buck, I think Barrett got a little bit cold. He could have been brought back quicker. But Quentin Grimes, like Eddie said, he needs more shots. Tonight, Grimes finished with 7 shots. Was 4 of 7, 3 of 6 from deep. Especially in the first half, guys. I feel like due to that slow start, Brunson and Randle should have been focusing in on Quentin Grimes. Remember 2 years ago when Randle had that chemistry with Evan Fournier and Reggie Bullock? The little screen and roll, 2-man game? There's no reason we haven't seen that with Randle and Grimes. Why don't we see that? That would be good. We need to see more of that. Right? It seems like Grimes is either a little bit too shy, too hesitant, or Randle looks him off. So now I'm not trying to suggest or insinuate nothing between the two guys, but it just seems a little off in terms of it was a great play that worked with Fournier and with Reggie Bullock. And Grimes is just as good of a shooter, if not better. So we need to get him involved a lot more. But for me, it was probably the swing play of the game. Right, this would have been a 4-point play. LJ, I'm sure LJ was in the building, but for Grimes to hit that 4-point play could have just pushed us over the edge to winning this one. We would have gone up 7. Unfortunately, it was a 6-point lead after that, I think, and then the Boston Celtics started to just kind of chip away at it, just chip away slowly at it. But with that said, the New York Knicks shot well from 3 later in the game, but we took too many bad looks in the first half, and Grimes should have had more shots, fam. But Quickley's pull-up game off the dribble was elite. 5 of 7 from 3, 71%, and 5 of 6 at the line as well. 24 points, 4 assists, and 6 boards. Complete game from Emmanuel Quickley, A+ in 28 minutes. Lightning offense, efficiency, and rebounding and defense as well. Missed out on that challenge call. That was a little stiff. I thought Emmanuel Quickley went vertical, and we didn't get the call reversed. That was disappointing. But everyone on the bench stepped up outside of DiVincenzo. So the 3 men, Hart, Quickley, and Hartenstein, all stepped up. 0 of 4 from Dante, 0 of 3 from deep. He hits a couple shots and we might win this game. So we wait to see. We're still waiting on that Dante DiVincenzo I'm here moment. I've arrived, kind of thing. I hope it's coming soon. But we also got to pin this loss on Brunson, 6 of 21, and Randle's 5 of 22. Right. So definitely chat, getting on it with these guys. That they deserve it because they're the leaders and they need to pull us to victory in this one. Now, as great as it is having your role players step up, they're role players. They can't carry you to the victory sometimes, most of the time. So Randle's 1 of 5 from the line, and he's 5 of 22 from the field. That's things he'll clean up, hopefully. Could have swung the ball to Quentin Grimes during that critical play as well. But RJ Barrett, 8 of 20, played a good 36 minutes. I'm happy for him getting his big minutes. Like I said, he could have come on a little earlier. I think in the fourth, to close the third or the fourth. But 3 of 5, 2 of 5 from deep, 40%, and 6 of 7. So 2 of his biggest weaknesses coming in might not be weaknesses anymore. That's music to my ears in terms of 3-point shooting and foul shooting. So I think reps has helped RJ this off season. Being aggressive, being active with FIBA. The more reps you get with the 3-point ball, the easier it's going to go down. 2 of 5 and 6 of 7 from the line. I would have liked RJ Barrett to be the one to hit those critical free throws. That would have put a cement on his performance, but it was Julius Randle that got to the line late and missed those. And I thought, Barrett deserved the opportunity to be the focal point at some points as well. Him and Quickley were basically on point all night. And as a coach, that's something you got to highlight in the huddle, in the timeout, in the post-game review. And it's also something that Randle and Brunson got to own as well. I don't really care who's got it going. Whoever's got it going needs to carry this team to victory. What are you guys feeling? Michael says, I like the 11-man rotation as well. Man, I like to start the year. Definitely we could use a little bit of injection from Deuce, and tonight we probably didn't need Fournier. We shot the ball from deep decent. Quentin Grimes was on. Quickley was on. But who knows what's going to happen in the next game. These guys got to stay ready. I think we'll need an Evan Fournier game at some point. I'm still not sold on our 3-point ball, unless Grimes is getting more looks. Yeah, in terms of Quickly to die for, saying that's why you need to start IQ. I like Grimes, but he shouldn't be starting right now. Yeah, it's certainly the way Quickly's been playing. It's definitely surpassed Grimes's play more often. I feel like Grimes is in the starting unit because he's the more prototypical two, and he's a guy with extra size. But closing games out is key, and I'll respect Thibs if he closes lineups out more with Quickley and Brunson, two ball carriers, two guys that you can trust with the ball a little bit more. Not saying Quentin Grimes, is Butterfingers, but he's still learning how to be clutch. I think we've seen Emmanuel Quickley be a little bit more clutch throughout his Knicks career than Grimes, but yeah, I like Quickley closing lineups as well. Yeah, we'll see what Thibs is going to do. Thibs is very high on Emmanuel Quickley. He gave his quotes about Quickley not coming to an extension agreement with the Knicks, or the Knicks not extending him, and he said, I'm a huge Quick guy, and I hope we can get something done. So yeah, best believe Tom Thibodeau doesn't want to lose Emmanuel Quickley. Tonight, like I said, it could have been embarrassing if we don't have an Emmanuel Quickley, the game we have. So with that said, I kind of, although we lost and it's frustrating, there was many ways we could have won tonight. We've got to be better late in games, Randle and Brunson specifically, and we've got to start games well. We've got to get out to a really good start against these good teams, and put the beat down on them, put the pressure on them. So I'm feeling good about the Knicks' chances of getting that fourth spot or above. The fact that we can mix it up with the favourites of the East lets me know that ain't no one want to see the New York Knicks later in the season, later in the playoffs. But I can't help but think that some changes are going to be made in some way. The Evan Fournier trade, the salaries there. We just got to wait and see which teams start really bad. And with that said, let's just do a quick roundup of the league before we wrap up and get out of here. But it looks like the Sacramento Kings about to beat the Utah Jazz. That was expected. The third quarter, playing in Texas, we've got the Mavericks narrowly in the lead, 83-81 over the Spurs, with 3 to play in the third. We've got the Clippers up by 11 in the second quarter against the Portland Trailblazers. We had the Orlando Magic put the huge beat down on the Rockets by 30. So that was a great win. Orlando's coming, man. We had the Indiana Pacers put up 143, like my man Parrish says. Man, that's crazy right there. Let's get that comment. Like Parrish said earlier, he gave us the heads up. 143 to 120 over the Wizards. So the Wizards not looking so good right now. The Hornets won the first game. I picked the Hornets as well. So, yeah, I thought the Hornets could beat the Hawks on their home floor. They did it. The Raptors got a narrow win over the T-Wolves, 97-94 at home. So that's a tough loss for the Timberwolves. They needed to get off to a good start. Maybe the Karl Anthony Towns rumours start to come. Not just because of the Knicks need to get a star and upgrade, but I think the T-Wolves salary cap is crazy right now. They're in salary cap hell, basically, with Karl Towns earning 50 mil, Rudy Gobert, Anthony Edwards, Jaden McDaniels now. The Miami Heat pulled off a 1-point win over the Detroit Pistons by the skin of their teeth. Division foes, the Brooklyn Nets, lose 113 to 114 by the Cleveland Cavs. So the Cavs pull out the first win by a point. Yeah, some of these games went down to the wire. The Pelicans got a great start over the Grizzlies. They're missing Ja Morant. Um, the Grizzlies are going to have to tough it out until he can get back. And then we have the Oklahoma City Thunder put the beat down on the Chicago Bulls on their home floor by 20. So another team that's coming, guys, no doubt about it. Salute to the best chat in the biz. We didn't get the win tonight, and it's tough. We love to win the home openers. The Garden crowd showed out, represented. Fam. Salute Mike Boy in the chat, rocking out. 007 Angelo with the super chat. Let's go, fam. Appreciate you. 007 Angelo says Rose is banking on Rocas. IQ is here now. Pay him. Great comments, great thoughts. IQ is here right now. He is balling out right now. He's helping us right now. And pay him. He's deserving of a payday. That's the reason why, man, his agent was super confident, in asking for a very good number, and that's what he wants, man. He's not backing down. I think the more IQ balls out like this, man, the Knicks are going to have to match a big time offer. Fam, appreciate it. Let's get it. Yeah, IQ, great start to the year now. Opening night showed the world that he's not phased. He's not phased by distractions, contract situations. His boy Obi ain't here. He's just letting his work do the talking. Definitely the best New York Knick tonight out of anyone. Out of Brunson, beat Brunson. You beat Randle, better than Grimes, and better than Argh, narrowly. But yeah, Emmanuel Quickley coming off the bench is showing, not just the New York Knicks, but other teams now, that when I say I want to be a starter, I'm not just giving lip service. I can be a starter in this league. So yeah, it's going to be a huge season, man. Another 81 games and playoffs. Hopefully, some great playoffs. But yeah, I like Quickley's game tonight. Rebounded, shot the ball well, got assists, got the offense moving, got the defense moving their feet and getting them in foul trouble as well. Building upon that great chemistry with Josh Hart playing bully ball, off the bench as well. We just need Barrett to also play some minutes more with the bench, and DiVincenzo to step up. Hartenstein was ready to go to war tonight as well. He was ready to get into it with Jalen Brown. He wasn't backing down. So yeah, it was getting chippy tonight. But the New York Knicks, unfortunately, the shooting let us down. So now, moving ahead, we'll be back post-game live. Friday night Knicks, the first Friday night Knicks of the season. That's about to go down in the ATL. And then we take a flight straight over to New Orleans and face the Pelicans after them picking up a huge win tonight. So Atlanta lost tonight. Atlanta went down on the road to the Hornets. So they ain't going to want to start 0-2. And the New York Knicks don't want to start 0-2 as well. So these games are going to come thick and fast now. And we got our first back-to-back of the season, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of good, pleasing performances tonight, but overall disappointing that our leaders didn't come and have a better start to the game. Like they were decent to close the game out, but obviously the free throw shooting from Randle was bad, but they started to hit some buckets. The first quarter, the first half was kind of ugly from them. You got to get Quentin Grimes more integrated. More pick and roll, hopefully. I mean, Mitch was efficient like he was. Let's get Mitch some looks. Let's get Quentin Grimes some more shots up. Because for the New York Knicks to shoot the way they did was pleasing with that. As we just take one last look at the stats, what's more disappointing tonight was that we out-rebounded them, out-assisted them, out-steal them, and we had less turnovers, but no blocks, and we still lost the game. So that's a very rare occurrence, I think. Most of the time the Knicks can win rebounding, and that they'll get it done, I think. So as we look at the wire-to-wire now, also, fast break points, we got murdered, 18-7. We got ourselves, like I said, a 6-point lead late. It would have been 7 if Quentin Grimes could hit that free throw. But forced Boston to 13 turnovers. I like that. That's the thing with Boston. That's why I'm not sold. They're going to be sloppy with the ball. Drew Holiday, Jalen Brown, these guys turn the ball over a lot. I watch Boston a lot. Outside of Jason Tatum, I don't trust anyone on this Boston team. Right. That's why I don't have them, up there in the East in terms of the top team. I still think it's Milwaukee. The combination of Giannis and Dame is going to be tough to stop. One can hit half court shots, the other one can just dunk over everybody as well. So what do you do? Boston, we kind of turned the water off on them tonight. Outside of the first half, when Tatum was getting hot, we saw Brown discombobulate a little bit, and we saw Drew Holiday not too effective, but it was Kristaps Porzingis, our good old foe KP, doing us in tonight. Out of the 11 blocks, he had 4 of them. So that was bad. That's kind of a rare game as well, where we don't have any blocks. So we gotta clean that up, and try to contest some more shots. With that said, but I like our 24 assists, 64 rebounds should get it done. But the 37% from field goal was disgusting, and 53% from the free throw was disgusting. You could have put some of us or people from the crowd at the free throw line, and probably would have gone 75% at least. Quickly, New York is telling IQ ball like the number you want. No doubt about it. Also, what's lost in that, I didn't mention, but I think the chat did. Obi, our old friend Obi Toppin, did not get an extension either as well. So the Knicks are kind of been a factor as to why these players didn't get their money. We saw Cole Anthony get mid-level money, 12 years per guaranteed, 3 years. We saw Josh Green, starting wing for the Dallas Mavericks, get 12 mil for 3 years. We saw those role players get solid money. Of course, IQ wants way more than that. I said this earlier too, Michael. No doubt KP will have to sit some nights, right? He looks fresh tonight, opening night, and I feel like he's going to wear down, running around, closing dudes out. But the scary thing about what the Boston Celtics have got is that KP can just basically do what he did tonight, just park himself at the 3-point line and just be ready to catch and shoot. And that's kind of scary, because it's going to pull the bigs from outside of the paint, and it's going to let Jalen Brown, Jason Tatum, get busy as well. He just has to stay healthy, and then we'll see. Tyrese Maxey didn't get the extension either, too, fam. Otherwise, peace. I think Maxi's going to get a huge number as well, man. Maybe they end up together on the Philadelphia 76ers, balling out. The buddies from Kentucky. No, but like I said, man, in terms of the Quickley thing, I honestly don't feel like the Knicks have made up their mind in terms of like definitively that they're going to trade Quickley or they're going to let him go. I think they're just simply going to let this year play out, and like I said, clear a bigger role for him if they need to. He wants to be a starter. That's the thing. So the Knicks, they want to look at another year of Brunson, another year of Grimes, and then make a decision with Barrett, with the whole starting unit, because the number one factor is our starting five is not a championship team yet. So what has to happen is something needs to change. Either players need to get better or players need to be traded. Now, with that said, they've got options because they've got the draft picks as well. So, it's going to be a minutes crunch and it's going to be tricky this year. But I'm all for these players, betting on themselves and just going for it, man. Just go for it. But yeah, man, I feel like the Celtics are going to be tough to beat. Yeah, KP became a floater in a Celtic uniform. He's having the best time of his life. Yeah, no doubt. He's basically, rendered a third option. Fourth option now, which is kind of crazy. Remember when KP left the Knicks? He was like, "I'm the man. I want to be the man." Now he's playing with, 3 All-Stars. That's not what counts. What counts is how does he help winning. And can he get that team over the top? I think that's the biggest factor for KP, right? Huge year for him. He got to stay healthy, and you got to help that team win. Otherwise, he'll be forgotten real quickly. So, yeah, man. With that said, we didn't get the chocolates tonight, man. Unfortunately, but we'll be back. On the streets are buzzing, always buzzing, smashing that like button. Appreciate you rocking out. And one more day off, and then we're back in the ATL. Let's get it. Then Trae Young, DeJounte Murray. Those guys like to talk a game. The New York Knicks will have to go in there and pull off their first win of the year because the ATL also lost tonight. They'll be hungry. It's going to go down just like it did in 2020. And the New York Knicks got to go in the ATL and pull off this big win. Get off to 500. But tough loss tonight. But the young players balled out, which was the most pleasing thing. The leaders will be disappointed in their effort. And they'll be better. I think Julius Randle, Jalen Brunson, those guys usually bounce back real good as well. So appreciate you, Michael, to die for, Allah Wise, Michael, salute, and 007 Angelo, Mike Boy, big task, let's go, replay squad, Mega, and everyone else for rocking along tonight. Let's get on the next one. Have a great night, enjoy your weekend coming up, because we'll be ready against ATL. Let's get it. Salute.